Hey everybody, thank you for coming to check out this video. I have been trying to record this video for months now. I just didn't know the right way to go about it, and I wanted to make sure I was fully prepared for everything that I want to say. So first things first, I'm going to be talking about Fragile X syndrome, and that is a genetic condition that causes intellectual behavioral disability. Also has certain physical characteristics. So I don't know how many of you that are watching right now subscribe to my channel and have watched other videos, but I do have vlogs showing my son Elias, and I'm sure that a lot of you may wonder why he's 3 years old and he's not talking. He does jibber jabber a little bit, but he doesn't actually come out and say words, and that is part of Fragile X. So I'm gonna just go through briefly what Fragile X is, how it's caused, and what's going on in the body that is responsible for all of those challenges. So the first thing you need to know is this genetic condition is on the X chromosome. So females are XX, males are XY. So for a male, if this gene is passed down to them, they can, 1, be affected by it, or 2, they can be a carrier of it. And that's as far as into that as I'm gonna go. And females can also be a carrier or have a mutation. Females are usually less severe just because they do have the other X chromosome to compensate for the damaged or broken X chromosome. It causes a lack of protein production on the gene, and that particular gene is called FMR1. Alright, here's where it gets a little complicated. So, normal gene repeats are less than 45 CGG. No idea what CGG means, but we'll just go with it. The gray zone area is 45 to 54 repeats. Pre-mutation, which would be a carrier, is 55 to 200 repeats, and 200 plus repeats is a full mutation of Fragile X syndrome. So I am a carrier of Fragile X syndrome. My brother has a full mutation of Fragile X syndrome, and my son has a full mutation of Fragile X syndrome. So my son, I know, has 400 repeats of this gene. I don't personally know what my number is, but I would be under 200, between 55 and 200. Back to the FMR1 gene, it creates a protein, which is called FMRP. And when that gene has 200 plus repeats, it then shuts off the production of that FMRP protein. The lack of the protein is what actually causes Fragile X. So I hope that makes sense. I'm trying my best to simplify it so that you can understand, but obviously if you guys have questions or comments or whatever, just leave it all down below. But all of my information I'm getting from the National Fragile X Foundation. I will link all of that down below as well. And I just wanted to kind of put out the basics of what Fragile X is. So I'm going to explain to you how my son and my brother ended up with this gene in my family. Okay, so we're going to go back to carriers, which would be me. Can be male or female, like I said in the beginning. And there are carrier symptoms, but I'm going to do a separate video on that section for this condition. So basically, my mom is a carrier, and her father is a carrier. So I guess my grandfather's father had been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, and it's likely that it was actually Fragile X syndrome. Fragile X has obviously been around forever, but it wasn't actually discovered, for a lack of a better term, until I believe 1992. I will double check with that, and if I'm wrong, I will put it on the screen somewhere. So back then, they didn't know what Fragile X was. My grandfather never knew that he carried this gene, and my grandfather has 4 children. He has 3 boys and 1 girl. So all 3 of his boys are not affected. They don't have the gene because he gave them his Y, and he gave his 1 daughter the X. Now my mom, she, like me, is a carrier. She's not affected, but she did pass down the carrier gene to me. And 11 years later, she had my brother, and he popped up with a full mutation. We didn't know what it was. We didn't know why he wasn't crawling or why he wasn't developing the way that we're used to babies developing. And unfortunately for my brother, he did not receive the early intervention when he should have, and he wasn't diagnosed until he was about 2, so 2002. And resources through Easter Seals, which is an early intervention program here in New England. I don't know if there are other places, but I just, you know. But anyway, they only work with children until they're 3, and then there's a whole bunch of other stuff that's offered. But a lot happened with my family around that time, and my brother actually lives in North Carolina with my dad, and that's a whole different story. But my brother is now 17, and he is not nearly close to being intellectually at 17. I haven't seen my brother in a few years, so I don't know specifics of what he does, what he doesn't do, things like that. But I will definitely find out soon enough. Hopefully this summer, I will be able to see him, and I can kind of give you guys a little update. But Elias, on the other hand, I knew when I was pregnant that I was a carrier, because once my brother was diagnosed, they had me tested, and so I've known that I'm a carrier. I had Elias tested prenatally, and it's when they stick that big needle into your belly button. And they told me that he had a full mutation. So I prepared myself mentally, emotionally, all of that while pregnant. I also set up appointments with Easter Seals to make sure that he immediately got the assistance that he needed. You know, making sure that I was researching things about what to do, what not to do, all of that stuff. And the reason why I really wanted to make this video is to encourage you as parents to be those advocates for your kids. I'm in no way, shape, or form saying that I'm perfect and I did everything right. That's not what I'm saying at all. All I'm saying is that if you suspect that there's something going on that's not quite right, or, you know, maybe your child just doesn't want to, you know, because there's definitely times where Elias can do things that he just doesn't want to do, and he's just being 3. But, you know, if you notice that there's some things going on, don't hesitate. That's like the worst thing that you can do, is to hesitate to get them help because you're scared of the outcome. And I know that it's easier said than done, but I can tell you that having a Fragile X child and having this whole situation in my life in an everyday reality, the best thing that I did was get him diagnosed early and getting him help from day 1. Because my son literally is like, oh, I want to say maybe 6 to 8 months behind right now. He has programs every single day. He's receiving speech therapy, physical therapy, occupational therapy, within his preschool, and also outpatient through Easter Seals. So he's definitely getting a lot of attention, and it's helped him so much, so much. And I just want to make sure that if there's people out there that, maybe they're not sure what's going on, this is something that's really common that people just don't know about. Fragile X, it just really goes under the radar, and it's crazy how common that it really is. And it's just in your genes like it was in mine, and it just pops up. And you're like, how did this happen? Um, it also can cause autism, which is something else that I'm going to go into in a different video, because autism and Fragile X pretty much go hand in hand, but then again, there's differences. So I'm going to explain all of that in a different video, but it is the most common genetic cause of autism. So there are a lot of people out there who have been misdiagnosed, like the Parkinson's, like I said with my great-grandfather. Um, and they kind of just get shuffled into this group of like, we don't know what's not working, but something's not working. And that's not helping anyone get anywhere. And that's frustrating, and it's definitely heartbreaking for the parents. It's extremely difficult to watch your child struggle. And we know as parents that all we want is the best for our kids. So I urge you, if you are in that situation and you suspect there's anything whatsoever, I personally wanted to share with all of you, and especially if you guys have been watching and you do see these vlogs of Elias, I wanted you guys to know why. He's not where a typical 3-year-old would be. I'm like really nervous because it's a hard thing to talk about. I mean, I've accepted it, and I've, kind of just, it is what it is, but I definitely feel for, people that were in my parents' situation where it just like, it comes out of nowhere and you don't know what in the world's going on, but something's just not right. And I can't stress enough that there are so many different programs and so much hope for children as long as they get the help. So, and every situation is different, literally. Like in the repeats of the genes, that doesn't mean severity. So, my son, like I said, has 400 repeats of that gene, and that's not necessarily like, oh, he's like severely this far on the spectrum. It's not like that. We actually don't know what difference from one to the other, but I personally will tell you that if you get them early intervention, that is going to put them one step closer. And it really, really, really is so important to make sure that you are utilizing all of your resources so that your child has the, opportunities just like everybody else. And they can meet their full potential, because that's what all of us parents want for our kids. So, I hope this was helpful. I hope that you guys, are interested in this. I really am passionate about spreading the word about Fragile X, because there's just not enough awareness. There really isn't. And I want to put the information out there for people who don't know. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I really appreciate all of you guys supporting me on my weight loss journey. I'm going to be updating you guys on that as well at the end of the month. And I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and please, please, any questions, comments, just leave them down below. I will do my best to answer them, and I will see you guys in my next video.